Oh, what is going on, everybody? So it has been about a month since my last tier list video. I did make a couple mistakes in that tier list video, but the meta has also changed with some new guns and a few nerfs for some weapons. So I'm gonna be remaking that tier list, and I'm probably gonna do this every month or every couple months, just so you guys can stay up to date with the meta and which guns are the best. So without further ado, let's hop right into the tier list. Alright, so we're now on the tier list. Ignore the freeze rate being really big. I didn't have like an official PNG for it, so I just took my own picture. But basically, I'm gonna try and make this tier list as accurate as possible for you guys, so you guys know which weapons you should be buying and which ones you should be staying away from, or which ones you should use if you just want to win games. So starting off the D tier, going from the B tier to the D tier, my last tier list, I have these smoke grenades. So these smoke grenade might be able to make for like some cool plays of like popping out of the smoke, but honestly it's really not a help in like any game mode. I don't see anyone ever using the smoke grenade, and I feel like there's just so many better options in the utility area that the smoke grenade is just not really useful. And the newest weapon inside of Rivals, I have the freeze ray gun, also in the D tier. So the freeze ray gun, I thought it was kind of OP when it first released, but when I figured out people can just shoot at you while they're frozen, and they take 50% less damage on that first bullet, and one bullet will basically automatically take them out of the freeze. So there is some cool combinations you can do with the freeze ray, but I feel like there's also better options in the utility area, so that's why the freeze ray is in D tier. And also staying in the D tier for my last tier list, I still have the flamethrower. There was like 2 people who said the flamethrower should be higher, but I feel like the flamethrower really isn't good unless you're going against very bad players who are just grouped up together and they don't know how to get away from you. But most people can just easily counter the flamethrower, so that's why it's staying in the D tier. So staying in the C tier for my last tier list, I have the flare gun. So the flare gun is a decent secondary weapon, but there's so many better options. And it does like some decent damage. It does put some flames on the player's screen if they do get hit with your flare gun. It can block off some areas of the map, and it does last for a very long time. But at the same time, if you run out of ammo in your primary and you need to swap to a secondary and then you have the flare gun, like you're just gonna die. So that's why the flare gun isn't really a good option. Going down from the B tier to the C tier, I have the handgun. So the handgun hasn't really had any changes. It's just that people have played the game longer now, and people don't really need to use the handgun anymore because they have many other secondary weapons that they can actually use. There's a lot better options. It still is a pretty good starter weapon, but I just wouldn't recommend using it anymore. Next weapon is the grenade launcher. I will also be putting this in the C tier. It used to be in the B tier, but I think C tier is a good place for this because it does great for some cool movement, but I really just don't like it as a primary weapon. It should be a primary weapon, but I feel like against like a decent player, you're not going to be able to jump around the map and then easily kill them with your remaining grenades inside of the grenade launcher. So I feel like it's not really that good of a weapon, and it can easily be countered. So this next utility is going to be going from the B tier to the C tier. I have the flash grenade. So the flash grenade, I'm really confused about it because I feel like if I just look at my own flash grenade, I'm going to get hit with it and then blind myself. That might just be a skill issue on my end, but I know some people like spamming this thing. It does have a very, very low cooldown, so you can just spam it a lot. But I feel like often you're constantly like blinding yourself, and I feel like there also is just better damaging utility weapons you could use. So that's why I have flash grenade in C tier. Okay, so starting off the B tier, I had the trip mine. I used to have this in the C tier, but the trip mine is pretty good on backrooms, I'm not gonna lie. If you just place it down, and if you're in a bigger team mode, the chances are someone will step on your trip mine and almost immediately die. And of course, you can also just jump into the air and try and get some easy damage, or you can use your katana to block shots when you're in the air. The trip mine honestly is a very fun utility. Except in the B tier, I'm gonna have the trowel. So the trowel, I realized that you can like hit the blocks when you place them, and it makes them like float in the air and then just stay there. So you can maybe create for like some cool movement plays, like jump onto them. But it's not really good for damage. It can block shots, but I feel like maybe like one shot and then the person just stops shooting and they rush you. So I feel like the trowel isn't really that good, but I could definitely see some plays being made with it. And then this next weapon might be a little surprising, but I'm actually going to be putting the chainsaw in B tier. So there is a couple other melees that I think you should always use over the chainsaw. The chainsaw is extremely loud. It does do some pretty good damage if you actually hit someone with it. But I feel like there is better options for the chainsaw. It is really loud. It does good damage, but I feel like there is just better melee options, and you'll see where I rank the other melees later. Next up, in the B tier, I have the slingshot. So the slingshot honestly is like a no skill weapon. You just spam it and hope for the best. It can obviously like bounce off the walls with the bullets and hope that it hits them. If you like use your trajectory correctly, you might be able to hit some shots off the wall. But I feel like there's a lot of better weapons you could use at a higher DPS. Also in the B tier, I'm putting the minigun. So the minigun is another like no skill weapon. You just spam out like the 200 bullets and hopefully they hit. You can deal some serious damage like extremely fast. Your mobility is still pretty good even when holding the minigun. But I feel like there is just better options as a primary for the minigun, and better skilled players can just easily counter a minigun. Alright, so starting off the A tier, I'm going to be putting the burst here. So I used to have the burst in the S tier, but it did get nerfed. The headshot damage went down. So it's a lot harder to kill people like really fast, like how you used to be able to. It probably used to be the best weapon in the game, but now it's just A tier and it's definitely not S tier anymore. Also in the A tier, I'm going to put in the Molotov grenade. So this definitely jumped up a couple ranks since my last tier list, but the Molotov is really good for just blocking off spaces. It has tick damage, and you can just easily like super quickly throw it down if someone's in your face and deal some extra damage. And it also covers their screen with flames whenever they are getting hit by it. Also in the A tier, the RPG is going to be making a jump. So with the RPG compared to the grenade launcher, I feel like you can go a lot farther with one shot, and it's a lot easier to hit your shot with it, and it does more damage. So if you get high ground on someone with the RPG, I feel like it's just an easy kill. And they can't really do anything about it if you know how to use the RPG correctly. Next up in the A tier, I'm going to be putting the grenade. So the grenade obviously is a great movement utility, but there is one utility that just stands out over all the utilities, which we'll get to later. But the grenade, you want to, you just run at someone and explode it. Do some easy damage, or you can just chuck it at the beginning of a match. It's really up to you, but grenade is always a good option for utility. So next in the A tier, I'm going to put the katana. So I used to have the katana in S tier, but as like I guess a month since my last tier list, people have started to learn what the katana does and how to have a faster reaction time when someone pulls it out and tries to block your shots. So I feel like it's not S tier anymore. Some people are still really good with it, but I feel like most people just know how to counter it now. Also going from the S tier to the A tier, I'm going to put the exo gun. So that might be kind of surprising, but I feel like the exo gun isn't as good. Obviously it's not as good as it was because it did get nerfed a couple times for a couple different things, and I feel like there is a couple other secondary weapons that are just superior to the ray gun or the exo gun, even though it is pay to win. But there are some better free-to-play options, and one of those better free-to-play options might just be the shorty shotgun. So the shorty shotgun did get a buff. You can easily like two-shot someone with this thing now, and it's not an S tier just because I do still feel like there's some better secondary weapons because I don't want to fill it up too much. But the shorty shotgun definitely a very good option now compared to my last tier list. Ending off the A tier is fixing one of my biggest mistakes in my last tier list video, is the knife. So I put the knife in D tier because I didn't know it could backstab, and now that I know that, it has to just be an A tier because it can one-shot someone if you're good with it. Like if you can get some serious movement down with the knife and backstab someone and one-shot them, it's a crazy weapon. But if you're not that good at movement, then the knife probably isn't for you. So it definitely is more of a high skill weapon. So now we're going to be starting off the S tier. The S tier isn't going to be in any like specific order, but just know that all these weapons are very good and you should definitely buy them all. So starting off the S tier, I have the revolver. So the revolver, if you're good with it, it can do some serious damage if you're not like spamming it out. So if you're far away from someone, you can hit your revolver shots. Super good secondary weapon. And if you're up close, you can just easily let out all the shots really fast. And it does take some luck because it's kind of hard to hit your shots when you're spamming it really fast, but it can do some serious damage if you can make contact. So next up in the S tier, I have the bow. So the bow is kind of weird because I'm sure as a lot of you know, is that you don't really need to actually hit the enemy for it to do damage. You can just hit them like not directly, but it will still deal damage. And if you charge it up, the more damage it does. And of course it also has double jump, so you can create for some serious mobility. And then following up that double jump, I have the fist. So the fist honestly is just a really good melee weapon because you could double jump and it can create for some serious movement, and you can attack with it really fast to maybe finish someone off if they are weak, because you do spam out fist attacks really fast and they do a decent amount of damage. Next up in the S tier, I have the sniper. So if someone is good with the sniper, it doesn't matter what you are using, they can easily headshot you and just end your life immediately, because the sniper does one shot. I don't think the sniper will ever be out of S tier unless they do some crazy change with it, but the sniper is just so good. Next up in the S tier, I have the AR. So of course the AR is going to be keeping its spot in the S tier. It is a super easy weapon to use, and it can also do some serious damage. And if you actually get your tracking down with the AR, you can do crazy amounts of damage in just seconds. The recently buffed shotgun is also going to be in the S tier. If you guys haven't gone up against someone with this thing, you do so much damage with it. And it is crazy how much they buffed it, because it is so much stronger than when it used to be. I feel like someone is so far away from me with the shotgun and they're still hitting me for so much damage. So if you guys haven't used the shotgun yet since the latest buff, make sure you start using it now. Next in the S tier, I have the scythe. So I think the scythe is the best melee. It's like the only melee I ever use unless I'm just like trying to have fun with like some goofy weapons. But the scythe can easily get you high ground. You can easily outmaneuver your enemies. If an enemy is weak and they're running away, you can just dash at them and do a quick damage to finish them off. And it has a very fast attack, so if you hit them once with the melee, you can easily hit them twice. And that's just an easy 100 damage, so easy S tier for the scythe. And of course in the S tier will be the med kit. So if you guys have Robux to spend and you're going to spend it on rivals, buy the med kit 110%. The med kit is so OP. You can click G to like do like a fast heal if you're on PC. I don't know what the controls are on other devices, but it'll heal you for a little bit in the middle of the fight and probably save your life. I know it saves my life a ton. And then you can also do like the long heal that will heal you for more, but obviously it takes longer. So easy S tier for the medkit. Next up in the S tier, second to last weapon is the Uzi. So the Uzi obviously is probably the best secondary weapon in the game. You might be able to change it out with the revolver and maybe the exo gun, but I think the Uzi is by far the best secondary. You can just easily whip it out if you run out of ammo with your primary, and easily just mow down your enemies with that crazy amount of fast damage it can do. So the Uzi will probably be at the top for a while. And so I probably saved the best for last, and that is the paintball gun. So the paintball gun is from the classic bundle, or you can just save up your keys to buy it. But the paintball gun, if you guys are going to save up your keys to buy one of the golden weapons, buy the paintball gun 100%. This thing is crazy OP, probably going to get nerfed soon. But if you hit someone with it, their screen just gets covered in paint, you can barely see anything. And then also it just does crazy damage with the headshot multiplier. And honestly just body shots too. It has the perfect amount of ammo to easily one-clip somebody. And overall, probably the best weapon in the game. You can probably expect a nerf soon, but for now it is the best. Alright, and that was all of the weapons ranked from worst to best inside of Rivals. So hopefully you guys agree with me with my rankings. Hopefully I did fix my mistakes from last time. But I am looking forward to make this video again in a couple months or next month to tell you guys how the meta has changed and which guns are currently the best inside of Rivals. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.